welcome to Chef Shelley's Kitchen. So, as you can see, we have a beautiful guest with us today. This is my coworker, Shannon, and we both work at the Center for Creative Leadership. And she is, I'm going to tell you, just full of energy. She has such an amazing personality. When I go into the office, either she's there before me or I'm there before her, but we're usually one of the first two in the offices. And what I appreciate her is she lets me interrupt her and ask her about her weekend. And she says, oh yeah, I love interruptions. And so I appreciate you so much for that. And thank you so much for coming and doing this for me. Today we have a real treat. Shannon's going to share with us her Mexican casserole.
Yeah.
And so she's very much into eating healthy, and she's going to actually tell us kind of some tips and tricks that she uses. And she even introduced me to a new product that I'd really like to know more about, so we'll talk about it. So Shannon, why don't we get started? What do we have here? What's all included, and how do we get started?
All right, so this is just a one dish meal that you can fix super easy. And the really cool thing about it is that some of the stuff you can fix ahead of time if you need to, and it makes it super easy. So we're going to start with cooking quinoa. So this is going to be kind of a southwestern Mexican dish, and if you typically like those kinds of dishes with rice, quinoa is a really good alternative. So rice is a starch, not a lot of nutritional benefits, and not really good for you. Quinoa is not a starch, it's a grain, and it's packed with fiber and protein.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
Yes. And so let me just can I plug in a point here about quinoa?
Yeah, please do.
So it is spelled, this is what I buy, red, this is from Walmart, organic red quinoa.
There's also talk about why you do red versus white. Tell us about the difference.
There's also white quinoa. They're both really good, really healthy, and really good for you. This dish, I like red better for Mexican Southwest dish. The red is a little bit crispier and chewier and smaller, so the texture is different than white.
Okay.
The white is more fluffy and lighter, so it's also good for other kinds of dishes as well. Like if you like a traditional chicken and rice dish, do chicken and white quinoa. Okay. So let me also say this, people. It's Quinoa. It is not pronounced quinoa. Have you ever heard?
No, I haven't heard.
Well, I have.
Quinoa.
I have,
Quinoa.
and it's not quinoa. So people will make fun of you if you say quinoa. So don't say that anymore. All right.
Do you think, where is this typically grown? The quinoa.
I have no idea. Okay. It's an ancient grain. I do know that. So I think it's a Middle East type thing. But it's really good if you know how to cook it right and flavor it right. Otherwise, if you just boil it in water like it says on the package, it's not going to taste good. So,
okay.
So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to
Sounds good.
Quinoa.
All right. So what do we need to do?
So we're going to use about 1 cup of quinoa for this dish. And this is something you can cook very easily and store in your fridge. You can do it ahead of time. So we're going to put it in a really big pot because after we cook this, we're just going to add everything else to our pot. That makes this an easy 1-pot dish.
Nice.
Super
simple.
So we're putting about 1 cup of quinoa in here.
Okay.
And then I'm going to add an onion. You don't have to add a chopped onion at this point, but I like to cook it in onion just because it adds flavor.
Love
so
that.
Instead of adding the onion later, we're going to add it early now.
Okay.
And this is 1 chopped onion. As much onion as you want. Yep, thank you. And if you want to do 2 onions, if you love onion, then do 2.
Yeah, some people love onions, so sounds good.
We're also going to go ahead and add at least 1 teaspoon of pepper and 1 teaspoon of salt. And I use pink Himalayan sea salt. This is fine ground.
Tell us about this because this is new for me. I wasn't familiar with that.
So I've cut out all iodized salt from my diet as much as I can, just because it's not iodized. Anything is not good for you, and your sodium levels in your body it makes them a lot higher. So this pink Himalayan sea salt is actually lowering sodium levels, and it's much healthier for you, and it's not as processed.
And how does that differ from regular sea salt? Because like I use sea salt, and I just wasn't familiar with the red Himalayan sea
Yeah,
salt.
so I think there's a lot of information you can Google on it. I don't know it
Okay.
all, but I do know part of it's where it comes from and how it's processed.
Okay.
And so
That's
the
worth
pink,
looking.
the fine ground pink Himalayan sea salt is supposed to be less processed, so less chemicals go in it
Okay.
to refine it and that sort of thing. And the
Very
sodium
nice.
levels are less.
Awesome.
But I do know that just from the little bit I've learned, any kind of like Celtic sea salt is still better than iodized.
Okay.
So,
And then where do you get this?
You can buy this at any grocery store. I bought
Okay.
this. This is the fine ground, so I don't have to grind it. I got this at Walmart, so you can buy it at any grocery store just about.
Yeah.
Yep.
So for our international viewers, because we have a lot of them, they're going to be saying, we don't have Walmart, although they might have Walmart.
Yeah.
More than likely, you can also buy it online. But since
Yes.
this is Himalayan red salt, I'm thinking, you know, for Asian countries, that's probably a staple for them,
It might
I would
be,
say.
yeah.
So worth looking into. I know we've got clearance in the Orient, and we've got some folks from Germany all over who always write me, so want to make sure they know where to go.
Good.
All right, what's next?
So we've got that in our quinoa. So now what we're going to do is just boil it. And usually most packages of quinoa tell you to boil it in water. I don't use water. I use chicken stock. So I actually bought this is fresh chicken stock.
Yes.
So one of the other ingredients is chicken, and it's already been cooked. So it was done ahead of time, which makes this super easy, and we saved about 1.5 cups of the broth.
That's the whole broth, actually.
So this is the whole broth. So
that's the whole broth.
this makes it great. So we're just gonna pour this in and stir it up a little bit.
Okay.
And then we're gonna boil it. Once it comes to a boil, once quinoa comes to a boil, you wanna turn it down and cover it.
Okay.
And let it cook covered for about 15 minutes or until it absorbs all the liquid. So it's kind of like rice.
Oh, okay.
Once it starts cooking, you'll fluff it up with a little bit of fork to test to see if it's done. And once it's absorbed most of the liquid, then it's usually done.
Very nice.
And also,
very nice.
one of the things with quinoa, especially red, once a lot of people who are new to it don't know when it's really done. What happens is it gets a little bigger, it expands, and it gets this translucent white little ring around the edges. So that's another thing to look for.
You'll know that.
Right now, it just looks like little red seeds.
Yeah. Okay.
So
All
we're
right.
gonna
We're gonna pause now. We're going to put it on the oven. We're gonna let it boil. Then we're going to take it, remove it, put a lid on it, time it for 15 minutes. Then we'll come back and then we'll add the rest of the ingredients. So we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. So we ended up cooking this a little longer than we thought, but talk a little bit about that.
Yep, so we just, so again, we boiled our quinoa, we let it come to a boil, and then once it came to a boil, we cover it, and then reduce the heat to much lower to let it simmer covered. And we ended up cooking it for about 20 minutes. You basically just want to cook it until it's gotten a little thicker. You start seeing some of the little white translucent rings around the outside of it, and most of the liquid is absorbed.
Right.
We also cooked it in about 2 cups. We ended up adding a little bit more broth.
Yeah, so I added another cup of broth. And when you cook it on low like that, that's the nice thing. It won't absorb it. But if you find that it doesn't look like it's done enough, and your water has evaporated, you want to add a little bit more. And you can add a little water if you don't have more chicken broth. But we'll make sure we'll put 2 cups of chicken broth.
Yeah.
Okay. What's next?
So now we're just going to add the rest of our ingredients to this one pot. Mix it up real good. We're going to season it up really good because we want to make sure we have flavor and it's not too bland.
Yeah.
And then once we do that, we're going to transfer that into a casserole dish.
Okay.
Cover it with a ton of cheese and stick it in the oven.
Sounds good.
All right.
So what can I
let's
hand your way?
Let's go ahead and just start adding. We can add our chicken, cooked shredded chicken.
Yeah. So just a little bit about the chicken. I'll give this to you while to do that while. So I cooked this in the crock pot actually last night. Many of you know that I like cooking with a lot of things in the crock pot. So I cooked it in the crock pot on low overnight, and I had 3 pieces of breast. That's what I used here. And then I put enough water in it because first of all, you want to make sure especially if you're doing overnight or you're away, you've got enough water in it. And that excess water then is what we use for the chicken broth. So I just separated the two and voila. And you can add, you know, your salt and pepper to that if you want, or just wait until you mix it all together here.
The other really nice thing about this dish is that you can use ground beef instead of chicken, and it's really good.
Okay.
Just cook your ground beef, season it up however you like to season it, and add it. So you can do that as well. It would be 1 pound of ground beef.
And then ground turkey too.
Yep.
So the ground turkey, would you cook that first?
Yes.
Cook that first, as well as the ground beef.
Cook it. Make sure
the
it's
meat
cooked
first,
before
then
you
put
add
it in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And for vegetarians, this is very easy to make vegetarian dish. Just forget the meat. And you can add, we're getting ready to add 1 can of black beans. You can increase that to 2 cans if you want to do a vegetarian dish. Just increase your protein, your bean protein to 2 cans, and that'll give you more stuff. All right, so we've got this mixed up with our chicken pretty good. So let's go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. We'll add 1 can. So this is 1 can of black beans that we're adding. When you do black beans, make sure you put them in a colander or a strainer. Drain them and rinse them real good with water. And that way they're just a little cleaner. So, and they have a better taste, I think.
Okay.
So we're gonna add black beans, and we're gonna add 2 cans of Rotel tomatoes. You can do these. We're using just the original. If you like spicier, you can add the spicy. Or you can substitute 2 cans of Rotel for 1 large jar of salsa. Whatever your favorite salsa is.
Yeah. Yep. I like a lot of times I'll do an original and a hot or original and a mild.
Yeah. So we're going to add these 2 cans.
Okay.
And we're just going to mix it up.
Okay. You want your jalapenos next?
We have one fresh jalapeno chopped, so we're going to add that.
Okay.
And if you don't have a fresh jalapeno, but you keep, so I love jalapenos, so I buy one of those huge jars of
like
the pickled
okay.
jalapenos that are already diced real fine. I keep those. So if you don't have a fresh jalapeno, you could do a tablespoon or 3. Depending on what you like. I sometimes will add about 3 tablespoons of jalapenos to this.
Oh, okay.
So just whatever your preference is.
My husband loves jalapenos, particularly pickled jalapenos.
Yeah, see, I just love them. Oops, one of them just jumped out of the boat. The other thing with that's really nice about this recipe is you can add whatever peppers you want. So I think this would be great with maybe a chopped green pepper, and maybe even a red or a yellow pepper, just depending on whatever you like.
Add color to it.
Yeah, it'll add a little color and just a little bit of different flavor. So it's super easy. You can just pretty much add whatever peppers and veggies that you want to add to this to make it healthier.
I think the other thing that I might do when I try it again is I might do the ground turkey. And what I usually do in prepping ground turkey, I'll do the onions and the bell pepper then.
With it, yeah.
And cook it, and then you'd already have it to put in there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Nice.
So you can see this is really easy. You can prep your chicken ahead of time, prep your quinoa ahead of time, and then one night after work, come in, dump it all together, put it in the oven, and you've got a great little easy dish. All right, let's add
seasonings. You want your seasoning. Okay.
Yep.
So we've got a bunch of seasonings. Do you want me to read off the ones that we have here? And we'll, of course, include all of them. So we have cumin. We have a teaspoon of cumin, right? A teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of chili powder, and no, the chili powder was tablespoon of chili powder. And again, I'll make sure I have all the ingredients. And then we've kept out the salt and pepper because you're saying we might need to add a little bit more of that.
Need to add a little bit.
And while you're mixing that, I'm going to go on and coat our pan. Now this is kind of neat. She uses coconut oil spray, pan spray. I usually use the pan cooking spray. But I've started cooking with coconut oil after being on my Whole30 plan. So guess what Shelley's going to get next? She's going to buy some coconut oil because I love it. I've fallen in love with coconut oil, and it's better for you.
Yeah, it really is. And if you use a lot of cooking spray, make sure you buy either coconut oil cooking spray or olive oil cooking spray. It's much better for you than that other junk. So, and you can get it anywhere, any grocery store, any brand. So, yeah. And just keep
So you've added that kind of gradually, so you
I've
can
been
make
adding
sure
it gradually, mixing it up.
it's mixed, because
Yeah.
we've got quite a bit of stuff, and I'm glad we went with a larger casserole dish.
Yeah.
I think that's
so
we're using a 9 by 13 casserole dish. Can you can use a smaller one, but with the portions we've used, I think this is going to be a good size.
Yes. And then sometimes I will, I'm not one to measure a lot of ingredients, so I just kind of dump a bunch of stuff in there. So sometimes I will, while I'm working this in,
Yeah.
if I'm not sure I need to add any more seasonings, just take a little fork and just taste a little bit, just see is it too salty, not enough, is it bland, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
do that.
You want to use the rest of your seasoning first, and I have a fork right here.
Yeah, let's do that. And we'll just see. Okay. All right.
Looks really good. Good, good, good. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
And then when she puts this in here, she also, and I've asked her to talk about why she's such an advocate for shredding your own cheese.
Yeah.
So you were talking about how you buy a block of cheese, and then you shred it, and she shreds hers in her processor. I was like, oh, how amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. I know with the Vitamix you can shred just about everything over there, so I'll definitely do that. Good. No extra
don't need
seasoning.
any more. Nope.
Okay.
We're good.
So I think too, because we had the seasoning in the broth. Oh, awesome. We had the seasoning in the broth. I think that also helps.
Yeah, I don't think we need any more salt. So that's
Okay,
good.
fantastic.
All right.
All right, so you're gonna, do we layer the cheese, or does the cheese go on top? How do you do it?
Whatever you want to do. So
Okay.
I normally just dump this in
Yeah.
to the dish and then top it with cheese.
Let's do it.
So we'll do that. But
Okay.
you can certainly, if you are really a cheesy person, you could add some of your cheese, mix it in, and then finish topping it off with cheese. You could do that. I think that would be good too.
Okay,
actually.
kind of like a lasagna in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
Layer it.
So we're just gonna take all this in.
Ooh, it looks so good. And we're gonna hold this up to the camera once
Yeah.
you dump it in, so they could get a feel for how it looks.
I'm just gonna try not to make a mess.
Oh, I think you're doing fine. Ooh, this looks good. This is a good party dish. How well does this do in terms of freezing?
You can definitely, thank you. Definitely freeze this, so you can fix it up and then just, once you get to this point, you could put it in your casserole dish.
Okay.
Not top it with cheese. I would not recommend topping with cheese, but you can do it like this if you've got a freezer safe dish.
Oh, okay.
Make sure you cover it really good. Make it
Okay.
airtight, cover it really good, freeze it. And then when you're ready to fix it, just take it out, thaw it out, and then when you're ready to stick it in the oven, top it with your cheese, and it would be
Very
great.
nice.
Yeah. I actually did that one time when we were getting ready to go on vacation for the beach.
Oh,
I don't like
okay.
to spend a lot of time cooking at the beach.
Same here.
So I did that, took the frozen casserole to the beach, let it thaw out, and then
You're
drop
done.
it in the oven.
You
Super
just
easy.
added your cheese once you got
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Very nice.
You can even use, a disposable dish if you don't want to have to deal with bringing dishes back. Super
That's
easy.
nice.
Yep. And all I'm doing is just kind of evening it out a little bit, spread it out a little bit, so we don't have any holes or pockets.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
nice.
All right.
So let's let them take a look at that. That is just amazing, amazing, amazing. So here, I'll slide this over here for you and give you the cheese. So we've got pepper jack,
Yep.
and then talk a little bit about why you shred your own versus buying it in the
Yeah,
grocery
so
store.
I always buy my cheeses that I like to use. I just buy them in the block. They're healthier because they haven't gone through processing, which means they haven't had a bunch of chemicals added. So if I bought for many years, cheese already shredded in the packs, they have a lot of chemicals added to them
To help preserve
keep
it, I
them
guess.
to preserve it
Yeah.
and to keep them from sticking together, because cheese sticks
Ah,
together.
yeah.
So that's why when you open up those bags of shredded cheese, it's all dry and they
Yeah.
sprinkle really nicely, but they've got tons of really bad stuff in
Okay.
them. So all you have to do is buy a block of cheese. This is 1 8-ounce block of cheese, pepper jack. And I just stick it in my food processor, put my blade on. There are all different kinds of blades. I love my food processor. If you don't have one, buy one.
Yeah.
It takes
Or your Vitamix.
or your
I got my
Vitamix. Yeah,
I can use as
that
well.
works. It takes 10 seconds. I do not grate my cheese. I'm too lazy. So way too lazy for that. I don't do that. So we're just going to sprinkle this on.
So you put the pepper jack on first.
Pepper jack, yep. And then I
Okay.
brought a little bit of extra just in case, you know, somebody might like more cheese
Yeah,
than
we'll
just
take
8 ounces.
We'll take the cheese.
And you can see here, it'll probably be quicker and easier for me to
Yeah,
just do
I
this.
use my hands.
Because it does, it is a little sticky. It likes to
Yeah.
stick together, so you don't want big clumps. You want it evenly spread out.
Nice.
And you don't have to use pepper jack. Use whatever you like. If
Okay.
you want to mix a little
Mozzarella.
mozzarella is a
Yeah.
really nice creamy cheese. If you like creamy cheeses, mozzarella or provolone.
Yeah.
Parmesan is nice. I brought a little bit extra Parmesan.
Yeah.
It's a little saltier,
Okay.
but I like that. So, you know.
Adds a little more flavor
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. Parmesan is actually a good one if you decide you want to mix some in the actual quinoa and chicken mixture. Parmesan's a good one just because it's a little
You mean
drier,
while it's
not as
cooking?
gummy. Yeah, it's not as
okay.
gummy. Or while in our
in
mix.
the pan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's drier because it's got more. It's a little saltier. I think that might be.
Okay.
You want to add any more? Or is that enough
No.
cheese for you?
Yeah, that's
All right.
good because we've got the
Yep.
Parmesan.
Yep. All right. So we can just fill in here, just a little. I'm just filling in gaps. This is a little more finely shredded.
Okay.
But both of these, this was also an 8-ounce block of Parmesan, but we're not going to use all this. I'm just using a little bit just to fill it in. Add as much or as little cheese as you want. You may be watching your dairy intake, so you may want to do lighter on the cheese, which is still fine.
And then you know what? It's so interesting. I was just over at, I discovered this a couple of weeks ago, and I was at Earth Fair. Just how you have to watch the cheeses because sometimes, as you said, there's preservatives. Even if it's regular cheese or ricotta cheese, it's things to help hold it together.
Right.
And you really have to read the labels.
Yeah,
So.
read your labels.
All right, this looks beautiful. So we're going to put this in the oven, and how long and what temperature?
Yep, so we are preheating our oven to 350. We've had that on the whole time, and we're going to stick it in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes.
Okay.
Enough to make sure it's really done, the cheese gets good and melty, and everything's super hot. So
Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's go put it in the oven.
All right.
Okay, we're back.
Yep.
So how long did we keep it in?
So after we put all the cheese on, we put it in our oven at 350, and we cooked it for 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Uncovered.
Yes.
And
look at it.
we now have this beautiful, cheesy goodness.
Nice, nice. So now's the time we get to taste it.
Yeah.
So there's
The
a
fun
little plate
stuff.
for you and
This is the
me.
fun stuff. So we're just
Can't wait.
let's see. Might be a little messy,
It's okay.
but that's okay.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Here's yours. And it's
Probably gonna be
hot.
super hot.
Yeah, it's gonna be super hot because we literally just took it out the oven. So
Probably gonna dump this.
it's
Okay.
okay.
There we go.
Awesome, awesome. So let's have a taste.
Cheers.
Cheers. Mmm. No, this is delicious. It's like a cross between a lasagna and I don't know. It's just delicious. I never thought to use quinoa in something like this.
Very good.
Okay. You guys, you better try this dish. It's fantastic, very healthy.
Very healthy and
Very
very
healthy.
filling too.
Very filling, and we're gonna have this for lunch. We're gonna actually combine this with a salad, and I've also added some tortillas. So since it is Mexican, likely my husband Curtis is gonna add the tortillas. He loves tortillas. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on this show, and please, everyone, continue to stay tuned. You can click the little picture on the right side of your screen to subscribe to my channel. If you do, you'll get episodes every other week and more things that are simple, delicious, and healthier recipes so that you can cook more, eat out less, be healthier, and save some money. Exactly. Awesome. Thanks again for coming. Bye, everyone.